everyone. Thanks for being here, and thank goodness for Zoom so we can gather everybody on short notice here and have this exciting moment. It's a great day for Duke baseball and Duke athletics, certainly, and it's truly my pleasure to introduce you all to the next leader of our Duke baseball program, Coach Corey Muscara. The search was fast, it was exciting, and it was an opportunity, and it certainly was a deeply important responsibility for us. As we looked to the future of Duke baseball, we sought a leader who could build on the strong foundation of Duke baseball that was already in place. Someone with competitive fire, vision, and values to take us to the next level. And after several conversations with Corey, it was clear that he truly was that person. Corey is widely respected across college baseball. He's spent time at some of the most competitive programs in the country, obviously most recently at Wake Forest, where he helped elevate one of the very best pitching staffs in the nation. He is innovative. He is someone who sees where the game is going, and he knows how to get there. His track record of developing talent is really exceptional. He is also incredibly thoughtful. He came into this process and our conversations with a clear vision, a strong sense of identity, a solid blueprint on how to build upon the success of baseball here at Duke. And he does understand what it takes to lead at this high level. He's strategic, he's energetic, he's deeply fluent in today's recruiting landscape, from roster building to technology, culture setting. But what stood out to me the most wasn't just his coaching resume. It really was the substance of our conversations. We spent time talking about leadership, about building a program from the inside out, and what it takes to create a team culture that is rooted in trust, accountability, and excellence. And I know you all will see when Corey starts talking, his vision is clear and compelling, and it's deeply aligned with Duke's values. He clearly understands what makes Duke special. He embraces high standards, not just in terms of wins and losses, but how we represent ourselves in the classroom, in the community, and on the field. And most importantly, he's fully committed to developing our student athletes as both players and people. Before I turn it over to Corey, I want to express my sincere thanks to Daniel Parker and the team at Parker Executive Search for their partnership in the process. I'm also incredibly grateful to my colleagues, members of our internal search committee, Brad Barrett, Troy Austin, and Bob Weissman. And I want to thank our student athletes and our alumni. Their feedback throughout this process really gave us clarity and confidence in identifying the right fit. So with that, we are incredibly thrilled to welcome Corey, his wife Suzanne, their children Theodore, Thomas, and Susanna Margaret to the Duke family. Corey has already been hard at work since last Thursday, and I know our players, our fans, our supporters will quickly see the impact of his leadership. So with that, it is my great honor to introduce the 20th head coach in Duke baseball history, Coach Corey Muscara.
Thank you, Nina. I'm so humbled and grateful for this opportunity. I'm so excited. This is something that I've visualized literally my entire life. You know, some people, I think they want to play professional sports, or they want to, do many things, be a doctor, lawyer. As long as I can remember, I've always wanted to be a college baseball coach. And I can't, I wouldn't be here today without thanking my wife, her support, her passion, her love, her guidance. She's everything to me. My beautiful kids and my family are really my rock. It's really where I start with everything. And, we talk about that dream and that vision of my entire life. I was really lucky that I had parents that gave me the opportunity to dream big. I every single day, it was follow your heart, follow your passion, follow what you love. And for me, that's kind of how I landed here in coaching baseball. I was someone that maybe wasn't the greatest at a lot of things, and I always felt compelled to the competitive spirit of the sport. And I grew as a person from that. And today, that's my why. That's why I get up out of bed every morning. I want to use baseball as the vehicle to help my players be the best version of themselves. So for me, that's why Duke University is such a great fit. The academic prestige of the university aligns with my thought process. I'm very big into the player development, and I'm very big into personal development. Every aspect of their lives matters to me, and I use a lot of different tactics and different things, analytics and science and visualization, a lot of different tactics. And for me, those that are great learners, they tend to thrive in this system. And so if I can be at a place that has great academic rigor, that allows my players to thrive. It's a match made in heaven. And I'm extraordinarily excited about that. That's the part for me that's really thrilling. We're going to be a program that dreams big. We're going to be a program that finds solutions and not problems. We're going to have relentless energy. Our work ethic is going to be tireless. And those are the pillars that I want to build it off of. And for me, I think if you find the right people and the right people in the room, anything is possible. We have an incredible foundation here. We have an unbelievable university. We have great kids that are currently here right now. And we have facility upgrades that are coming that are going to allow this program to be at the top of college baseball. So I'm so excited for this opportunity. I could probably talk all day about it. One thing I'd like to touch on briefly is our new staff. And that's another thing that I'm deeply proud of. This staff that I've assembled here, it kind of represents my whole career. There's someone from everywhere I've coached. We have guys from Maryland and Binghamton and Wake Forest and Southern New Hampshire University. So every stop along the way, I was able to bring the people that have impacted me the most, people that I deeply trust, people that I believe have the same vision. One thing that we've talked a lot about in recruiting over the years is that you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if you surround yourself with people that have the same passion and belief and love, anything is possible. And I really believe that we have that in this staff. We've only been together for 2 days, and I've enjoyed every second of it. It's been crazy. It's been a whirlwind. We're trying to put together an entire roster, literally, in a very short order. But it feels like anything is possible with this group, and we've hit the ground running, and it's been simply amazing so far. But I'd love to answer some questions about my beliefs and about what I see for the future of this program. But those are just kind of some snapshots about me right there.
We could use the raise hand feature. We will open up to questions. Jim Sumner, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, hey Corey. Jim Sumner, Go Duke the Magazine, and Jim Sumner Sports. Welcome to Duke.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. At least during the honeymoon period, and I hope that'll last a long time. Let me ask you, you mentioned the facilities upgrade. Let me ask you some questions. The question about resource allocation, I'm sure that came up a lot in your discussions with Nanny King. In terms of scholarships, facilities, recruiting budget, all this stuff, are you comfortable with where Duke is, and are there areas where Duke needs to improve?
Yeah, I think in life, everyone wants to improve all the time, right? If we're not trying to better ourselves, then what are we doing, right? So yeah, that's always a possibility, but we have more than enough to be incredibly successful here. I think in today's college landscape, not just in baseball, but in all sports, everyone talks about what they need. Winners don't talk about what they need. Winners find solutions. Winners get creative. Winners make players better. I never got into this to make money, and I never got into this to, have nice things. And I drive the same car that I've had for the last 10 years. That's not me. What drives me is getting the most out of our players. And we have every single resource necessary to get the most out of our guys. I'll leave you with this real quick, right? And I think it's really important. I would say John Wooden is one of the greatest coaches in any sport ever, right? Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
So he was asked at the end of his life what he felt was the most, the best job he ever did with a team. He said the first year he ever coached at UCLA, and the interviewer asking the question said, but you were barely 500 with that team. He said, yeah, but that team maximized their potential. That team got everything out of what they had. The year before, they won 2 games. They got over 500. That team got everything out of it. And that team was the most successful group of players I ever coached. More doctors, more lawyers, more congressmen than any team I ever coached. And that team became the foundation for our booster club moving forward. And that team was the foundation of our pyramid for success. I think we as a society, all we talk about is resources, 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 right? The most important resource is resourcefulness, ingenuity, and creativity, right? And if you have deep beliefs and passions for what you're trying to accomplish, then you can do anything, you know? So I think we have everything we need here. And is it going to get better? Yeah, it's going to get better. But that's life. I'm always improving. I'm not the same person I was last year or 5 years ago. So, yeah, I think we have everything we need, and I only see it improving, you know?
Connor, go ahead.
Good to see you. You obviously had chances to become a head coach in the past couple of years. I'm wondering what made this the right opportunity for you to become a head coach for the first time.
Previously, the timing wasn't right. It just wasn't the right time. It's always been a goal of mine. It's always been something that I've wanted to accomplish. But I think timing was the first thing. Second thing is Duke University is an incredible opportunity. None of the other opportunities were as special as this place. I've become such a huge fan of North Carolina. I've only ever really lived in the Northeast until I came to Winston-Salem. And my wife and I love North Carolina. So I think it's great for my family. We don't have to move too far from Winston. The schools are great here for the kids. We have, like I've talked about a lot so far in this little press conference here, Duke University is a special place, and I've been here for 4 days, and it's easy to see. And from the outside looking in, you recognize that as well. I'm a big believer in the ACC conference, especially for baseball. I think the travel schedule is fabulous. I think the teams are fabulous. I think the facilities and resources in the league are outstanding. I could go on for days, but this is a much different opportunity than I've had at other places, and it's truly a special one. So I think that's what makes this more unique.
If I could follow up, is there anything in the interview process that you had a preconceived notion about Duke that turned out to be different, or something that you found out to be a little off of what you had previously known about Duke from the 3 years that you guys played them?
Honestly, no. I think the thing that stood out for me the most is the help and support I've already gotten from Brad Barron. Like, I don't even know where we'd be right now without him. He's literally helping us at every capacity. So I don't know that that's a unique thing, but it's something I learned. That relationship with a sports administrator I've never had before. Obviously, I've never been a head coach, so that's probably part of it. But he's been so helpful so far. So that was big for me. The conversations I had with Nina King were outstanding. She was very personable. She was relatable. I felt comfortable and at ease speaking with her. So nothing new or nothing I didn't see coming. But just the people that I met have been really special and really outstanding, and they made me feel really at home in a very short period of time. So that was my biggest takeaway from this experience so far, and I'm really thankful for that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Corey, first, welcome to the Triangle.
Thank you.
Familiar with your team from seeing them in the last several years, and Wake Forest, always known for its pitching, which I'm sure you have to be pleased with. Watching Chase Burns last night had to be a thrill too. He did pretty well in his major league debut. But a couple nuts and bolts things. You mentioned your staff hitting the ground running, getting going. Can you tell us why you've selected these coaches to be your first head coaching staff, and also where is your roster right now?
Okay, a lot of great questions there. Yeah, I was bummed I couldn't be at Chase Burns' debut, but we had to get this thing rolling, and I guess yesterday was the first day that I had the whole staff on campus together. So I spoke to Chase after his outing last night, and we did send a representative out there. Sean Fisher, our director of player development, actually drove out and watched the game with his family. So even though I couldn't be there, We watched it from the boardroom while making recruiting calls last night. I had it on silent. I had to mute the calls a couple times when I was fired up after he struck out 6 in a row to start the game. But it was pretty awesome. As far as like why I hired some of the staff, deep personal relationships with all of them. I've worked with all of them before. I trust them. They all have a unique skill set. Scott Loazzo, associate head coach, was one of my coaches in college, and he actually hired me for my first job. He saw something in me and believed in me before I'd ever worked in the industry, and I'm forever indebted to that. Beyond that, he's a winner. I mean, we worked at Southern New Hampshire University, and the year before we got there, they were 7-43, the worst winning percentage in Division 1, 2, or 3. And they hadn't really had a winning season in 80 years of baseball at the school. Never even really been to the conference tournament. And I don't have the exact numbers off the top of my head, but it was something like, 10 plus years in a row of the NCAA tournament, 5 or 6 College World Series, which is remarkable. In year 3 of him being there, and I was on staff as his pitching coach, we went to the Division II College World Series and we lost in the national semifinal. So taking a program that was, literally not, it was a non-factor to a national powerhouse at the Division II level is very impressive. He coached at Penn State. He was a hitting coach at Penn State. They hadn't been to the conference tournament in quite some time. I think they had like maybe one conference tournament appearance in a 10-year time frame. And in his first year, they went to the conference championship game. They set a lot of offensive records there. Last year, he was a head coach at the Division I level. This is just a man that's always found a way to win, and his players love him. He does it with grit. He does it with passion. He does it with big-time energy, and I can trust him, and he's loyal. So it was an easy hire there. He brings head coaching experience to the table, and he's a fabulous person. Matt Wessinger is going to handle our hitting, and again, I've worked with him at 2 different schools, always been a winner. Every school he's ever coached at, he's coached in the NCAA tournament. It's pretty impressive. Every year that I've worked with him, we've coached in the NCAA tournament. We've always found a way to hit, and his players love him. Nick Kurtz calls him literally every morning. He talks to his players all the time. The relationships and the bonds are strong, and they are with me as well. I know I can trust him. I know he's loyal. I already talked about Sean Fisher, our director of player development. Sean played for me. He was a walk-on. He wasn't very talented, and he became our Friday night guy. And he's always wanted to get into coaching. He's worked with me at Wake for 2 years, was our, pitching lab coordinator, and he's going to handle a lot of like writing of programmings and different things like that. Obviously, I'm still going to do the bulk of pitching, but as a head coach, I'm going to be pulled in many different directions. So if there's things that have to happen from like daily practice plan writing to throwing program writing, things like that, kind of broader picture that I might be pulled away on, he has the ability to do that, and that's going to be a huge asset. We have Will Craig. Will Craig is an unbelievable dude. First of all, he's one of the best people I know. His disposition is great. He's very jolly. He's friendly. Great player in his own right. He was a National Player of the Year in college baseball one year. He was an ACC Player of the Year another year. He was a first rounder. He was a big leaguer. But you would never know it. He's so humble. I'm telling everybody this about him right now, and you would never know. And his work ethic is tireless. He has a passion and a zest for recruiting, which is deeply needed. So his disposition, his work ethic, his humility is what's drawn me to him. We have Sean Coveney, Director of Analytics. He was our assistant director at Wake. He has a really good understanding of the systems we used. He worked at Binghamton University, the second school I worked at. He's smart. He's creative. He's passionate. And then we have Mickey Bassett, Director of Operations. This guy was a manager when I coached at St. John's, became the ops guy, was the ops guy at Wake. And he's just super organized, has a really good feel for all things that go into day-to-day operations of a baseball program. And he's been doing it for the better part of 8 years. And he was his first boss, Ed Blankmeyer, is a college baseball Hall of Famer and my mentor. And he learned from him. And then Coach Walter, and then hopefully myself, can continue to progress him as being, in my opinion, one of the best ops guys in the country. So it's a great staff, all people that I know and trust, and my family knows and trust. And I'll be honest with you, my wife had a big say in this. I don't do anything without proving it through Susie. And, you know, they're all stamp of approval by my wife, so that's a big thing, you know.
Caroline, go ahead.
Hi, first of all, welcome and congratulations. I'm Caroline with the News and Observer. So just kind of looking at Duke as a program, I mean, this is a team that's had a lot of success but hasn't been able to get over the hump of making past a super regional. Kind of in your vision, like, what are you looking to do to get Duke over that hump and to aspire for the College World Series?
Yeah, well, for starter, Coach Pollard did an amazing job. Coach Pollard and his staff really put Duke baseball on the map. And, you know, over the last 8 or so years, they've been a top 10, top 20 program in college baseball, so it's truly remarkable. To get it over the hump, you know, first and foremost, we're going to use a lot of different player development tactics. We're going to be rooted in player development. It's going to be maximizing everyone's skill set, both individually and as a team. And it's going to be stylistic, right? We're going to be kind of a Swiss Army knife, if you will, as a team. We're going to have a lot of different styles and options that we're going to be able to play. We're going to be able to play our opponent based on the matchups. And we're going to use a lot of kind of advanced scouting and oppo scouting to do so. We're going to play aggressively. I want to play aggressively. We're going to run. We're going to be aggressive to certain pitches and certain counts. We're going to attack the strike zone aggressively. We're going to play with energy. We're going to play with big body language and presence. You know, those are stylistic things that are very important to me. As far as roster construction, I use this analogy often in recruiting and when talking to people. But our roster is going to be a little bit like the zoo. And bear with me for a second. Nobody goes to the zoo and wants to see 5 lions in a row. After you've seen one, you kind of get the gist, right? Everybody goes to want to see the lion. But you need to diversify that portfolio on your team. You got to have all different kinds of players from all different skill sets. And so for me, I want to be diverse in our style of play. I want to be diverse in our personalities. I want to be diverse in a lot of areas. And I think when you have that diversity and you have that adaptability, it's really tough to game plan for a team. I think sometimes certain teams, they get into one style, and if they kind of hit the wrong matchup, they can be handled. But a team that's a little bit of a chameleon, that can play a lot of different styles and can play aggressively and is prepared, can do a lot of special things. And that's the way I want to play. It's going to be the same thing on the pitching front. We're not all going to have the same guy that throws over the top 95 miles an hour. We're going to have a lot of different slots. We're going to have a lot of different size pitchers, lefties, righties. They're going to have different pitches that make them special. And when you can put that together collectively, the whole unit benefits from this because they kind of all play off each other. So for me, that's kind of how I see this happening, and it's maximizing each person's skill set to be the best version of themselves.
Jim?
Coach, should we call you Corey or Moose?
I'm fine with Moose. I haven't been called Corey much lately, so Moose is fine. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, Moose, let me follow up on roster construction. Obviously, this summer is a different beast, but in general, do you prefer, what ratio do you want between high school players and undergraduate transfers and grad student transfers? In particular, I'm interested in your philosophy on bringing in Ivy League. Your predecessor was extremely successful using the Chico School of Business to bring in Ivy League transfers. You talk a bit about the proper way to build a roster in today's NIL transfer portal era.
Absolutely. Well, for starters, the high school crop is going to be where we need to lay our foundation, right? There's academic requirements that make Duke the special place that it is. But because of that, you need time to really kind of cultivate the person, the personality, the academic rigor that the student has experienced thus far. And the transfer portal is like speed dating. So you don't really get to learn anything about anybody. It's so fast, you don't really get to understand their personalities. You're filtering through so many transcripts so quickly that it's really tough to get a gauge on what type of person that person is, because kids will go in the portal and get 50 phone calls in the first 4 hours, and then you're just trying to fight time to get on the phone. So for me, it's got to start with high school for various reasons. but one, you have more time to select the right people. And it's not about getting the best player. It's about getting the best person and the best fit. Okay. So that's number one. That's going to be the lion's share of our roster. Number two, I'm a big believer in personal and player development. It's literally why I get out of bed in the morning. So I want to be able to come and work with people for a period of time and see the growth and see how they develop as human beings. You know, we do live in some crazy times right now where there's a lot of new things about our sport. But I don't think any coach got into this to make phone calls all day and day trade on players, right? I think we got into this to develop people and to develop players, right? That's the real passion. So that's going to be the lion's share of our roster. The grad transfer thing here is awesome because it helps in terms of some of our, you know, admission standards and requirements. We obviously know that they can handle, their sports and their academics because they've done it. They already have their degree. Especially the Ivy Leagues, we know they're great academic institutions. We know they can handle it here at Duke. Now, the thing I will say to that is Coach Pollard did do a fantastic job with that, but he also benefited from the 2 COVID years where there was lots of fifth-year players, and you had this really strong well of fifth-year players. That's not going to be as bountiful right now. So I understand that was something that he utilized, and he hit the market right on that, and that was great. But we're not going to see as many Ivy League fifth years moving forward. Now, as we all know, the NCAA is constantly evolving. I feel like every 6 months we have 5 new rules. So that being said, I've heard a lot about potentially having fifth years and things like that. That could change. And that's why we have to be adaptable. As I see it right now, we'd like to add some grads here and there to plug holes. Potentially, if there's a really special impact transfer, maybe we can make that happen if they're a really high academic kid. But I think about probably 75, 80% of our roster is more than likely going to be high school kids, and we're probably going to be in that 25 to 20% range of transfer portal, whether it be grad or other transfer students. Now, I say that, and currently you asked the question about our current roster. It's really tough to make heads or tails of how many people we actually have on our roster right now. Felt like the first 15 kids that I called were already going somewhere else when I spoke to them. So that part of it, I can't give you an exact answer. It's very fluid. I can tell you that we had 2 visits yesterday. We have another visit today. We have a lot of people coming in, and we're going to fill this roster this year with a lot of transfers. Okay, a lot of the incoming players have decided to follow Coach Pollard to Virginia, even prior to me getting the job. So, you know, we have to fill a lot of spots in very short order, but we're going to. And, you know, I always say this, you know, and you've heard me say this a lot, but I think losers, they sit in the corner and complain about what can't happen and what they don't have the ability to do. Winners stand in the middle of the room and they give you solutions, not problems. And we're going to figure out this roster. We're going to make it competitive, and we're going to get guys that want to be here. And that's kind of the state of the roster as it stands right now.
Thanks. We got time for about one more. Connor, you want to close out?
Sure. Moose, I understand you probably got a crash course in this the last week or two, but what changes are coming to Jack Coombs in the next 6 months, and then how long of a project is that going to be until you think you're playing in the finished product of the field?
Yeah, so we've already had the first phase of the project done, and the field is beautiful. My wife actually hasn't been down here yet because I've been going back and forth, and I've been trying to get a roster. But I hope to bring her down here this weekend, and that's the first thing she said to me too is, man, that field's beautiful. So they did a fabulous job on that, and that's the first phase. Phase 2, I might be a little bit off on my timelines. Forgive me. I've been ingesting an enormous amount of information in a very short period of time. But, Brad, I believe you said around October Phase 2 starts. Is that correct? So I believe Phase 2 of the project starts around October, and I believe the end date is some point next fall, right? Is that accurate? So I think that's Phase 2 of the project. Phase 3 is kind of still evolving. We're still progressing in Phase 3. I'm not really at liberty to speak about much of this because I don't have enough information about this right now. my number one priority is having a team and making sure that we have competitive kids that want to win and be great student athletes. So I'm not getting in the weeds on any of that currently. I will once we get to the next light pole. That's what we're doing right now. We're running a marathon, and when people run marathons, if they think about the 26 miles, they're not going to finish. They're not going to get over Heartbreak Hill in Boston, right? We have to get to the next light pole. We're trying to get to the next light pole right now, and I'll worry about those phases once we have a roster. I jokingly said to my staff on day one, we're not eating until we get a commitment. So that's kind of where I'm at right now,
So you starving these guys out?
I'm starving myself, but I allowed them to eat today, so we're good. We got. I don't want to comment on the commitments and stuff, but we're doing okay for day one.